Hey guys, how's it going? Srey here, and I'm back today with another How Good Is video. Today it's going to be featuring Stitches. Stitches is a tank or off tank. He generally is better in the off tank role because he does quite a lot of damage for a bruiser. In fact, some of the highest damage in the game, although it's mostly damage over time. So he's not going to be bursting anyone down too quickly. He also has insane utility in the form of his hook. He can either hook enemies towards him or hook allies towards him to save them. The former is generally better, and you can just win games off hooking a key enemy in a team fight. His other abilities include just doing passive damage to enemies that are nearby and healing himself as well. He features the highest health pool of any hero in the game. Yes, that is including Cho'Gall, at least with the recent changes. But he has no resistances in his kit whatsoever, so he has no damage mitigation, he has no armor. So heroes like Johanna will still be tankier than him in most situations. He also has zero mobility, so if he's caught in something like an entomb with a Leoric who will drain his health, he cannot escape that situation, at least until 20 when he can get Bolt of the Storm. So picking him can often be kind of a difficult task on when you should pick him. Usually it's when your team doesn't really need any kind of hard CC because that is something that Stitches also lacks. The only thing he has that's kind of quoted as hard CC is Hook or Gorge, which is a heroic ability that he has. So he's not going to function very well as a dive hero. He's not going to function very well as a peel hero. So that usually puts him in the bruiser role. You could also pick him as a main tank if the main team doesn't have a lot of threats and you just want to play off hooks, and he's pretty good on most to all maps. So if it's a big map, then his hook's going to be a lot better, and if it's a smaller map, then his slam build uh, bruisery role is going to come into more effect. The heroes that counter him really just include heroes that do percentage damage. So Greymane's Cursed Bullet will do 40% of his health instantly, which chunks him a huge amount, and since he has no mitigation, all percentage damage effects are very good. Obviously, Monk is also very good, and Leoric is also quite good. He also is very weak to hard CC for most of the part, and he doesn't have any kind of peel effect, so if the enemy team has a lot of dive, you can just completely ignore Stitches most of the time and just kill his allies. He also has very good synergy with several other heroes, which include Malfurion. You can hook a hero and then Malfurion will root, or really any hero that has CC, you can hook them into CC and kill them. Tyrande Stitches used to be a very, very popular combo. You'd hook into stun. Takes a little bit of work to get down, but it's not too difficult. Another very popular and probably one of the most effective combos is Stitches Medivh, and that's because his level 10 ability Gorge consumes a hero inside of him, and then you can take the portal over walls and drop enemies in your base for certain death. The portals from Medivh also help circumnavigate the complete lack of mobility from Stitches, so if you overextend or if you want to go deep and dive, you can always get out of that situation, kind of similar to how Medivh works very well with Diablo. Diablo dives in, he can just take the portal out. Stitches is also very good in sustain bruiser roles where he can just poke the enemy out with Slam and kind of run around with his other heroic Bile. So Stitches has a lot of versatility, but mostly he's going to be there as the bruiser role, and then he'll get utility from Hook. You usually don't pick him because of Hook. You pick him because of his sustained AoE damage. So let's actually go over Stitch's kit. His first ability is Hook, and Hook pulls the first enemy hit towards Stitches, temporarily stunning them and dealing damage. So when you pull them, it's going to count as a stun, so you'll obviously interrupt any kind of channeled effects, and the target will be very, very briefly stunned once they reach you. You can see here that the range on Hook is fairly long, and if you hook a target, they just get pulled towards you. So you hook any kind of enemy, they will be pulled towards you. This includes minions, so if enemies are standing behind minions, you won't be able to hook them, and in fact, it's one of the counterplays to Stitches. If the enemy team has a lot of spawns, so if they have something like a Nubrak constantly spawning beetles, or they have Zagara spawning stuff, or they have Nazebo creating walls, and so on and so forth, it's going to make it a lot harder to play Stitches, at least in terms of looking for hooks. Guys, if I hook the wall here, you'll see that it doesn't go through. And if I stand behind my wall, I don't have anything to show you here with it, but if I stand behind my wall, let's say I stand right here and I hook a target from here, they will be pulled, but they will not pass the wall. So if I hook a hero right here, they will be pulled and they will stop right in front of this tower or in front of the gate. Something you can do though is say the enemy team is sieging in front of your gate here, and just as they destroy the gate, you can throw out a hook and they'll be pulled just as the gate is destroyed. Just a small thing that you can look for. His next ability is Slam. It is his W, costs 40 mana, 8-second cooldown, and it just does damage in an area to all enemies in an area. So it just looks like this. Just slams, and if I use it on a hero here, it just looks like this. And this is pretty much his bread and butter and what most of his talents are going to be going into. His E is Devour, has a 20-second cooldown. It deals damage to non-heroic enemies, and it deals less damage to heroes. So if you use Devour on minions or use it on anything that's not a hero, basically, you can't use it on structures, it's going to deal a lot more damage. So use it here, you can see that it does a moderate amount of damage, and you can use it to finish off enemies. It also restores 20% of Stitch's maximum health. So remember that Stitches has the highest health pool in the game, so a 20% increase in his max health is quite good. And now let's go over his passive, Vile Gas. So it's on a 3-second cooldown, and when you are damaged, Stitches emits a gas cloud that poisons nearby enemies for damage over 3 seconds. And it hits once per second. So let me toggle cooldowns here so you see that if I'm hit, this goes on cooldown, and just in the area around Stitches here, it's going to just emit a cloud, and it's going to poison nearby enemies. He also has one additional ability called Helping Hand. And what this does is it pulls the first, it's the exact same thing as Hook, except that it also applies to allies. So normally if this counts as an ally here, if I hook through this ally, my hook will go right through. However, if I activate Helping Hand, my hook will stop at the ally. For some reason, this minion specifically, or this ally, doesn't want to move, but it will hook the ally and it will be pulled towards me. It also, if you hook an ally, reduces the cooldown of Helping Hand by 50%. So this can be very useful to save allies, and the Helping Hand part of Stitches is probably the highest skill cap part of his kit, and knowing when to use it. And again, if you're really good with Hook, it will single-handedly win you games. Getting hooks on key targets in fights and pulling them into some kind of burst or a Valir or something just instantly wins fights. You can also pull a hero right into mouth, like I said. They'll get rooted, and then they'll be silenced right after. Okay, let's go over Stitch's talents. So level 1, we have Chew Your Food, Dampen Magic, Hungry for More, and Heavy Slam. So Chew Your Food, using Devour, also heals Stitches for 10% of his max health over 3 seconds. This is totally crap. Normally it heals for 20%, so if you get this, it'll heal for 30%, but this is just not good, and that is because Dampen Magic Shield, or Dampen Magic, just does what Chew Your Food does, but better. So although it doesn't heal you, it's going to significantly reduce the amount of damage that you take. So every 8 seconds, gain 50 spell armor against the next enemy ability or subsequent abilities for 1.5 seconds, reduce the damage by 50%. So this is like a Nubrax Dampen Magic. In fact, a Nubrax used to have Dampen Magic, but they renamed it, so it's a little bit different. But Dampen Magic effectively is very, very good against any kind of burst damage against Stitches. So you can go this talent, or you can go Heavy Slam. So Heavy Slam just increases the slam damage by 50%. And this is where a lot of your increase in damage comes from, is from this Heavy Slam build, or this Heavy Slam at level 1, and a lot of your talents later on at 4, 13, and 16 really rely on this talent. Hungry for More is a regeneration globe quest talent, and Gathering a Regeneration Globe increases Stitch's maximum health by 30 up to 900. And after you get 30 globes, it increases your movement speed by 10%. So this is actually quite a good talent, but you're just going to be better off with Dampen Magic if you need any kind of resistance in the first place. If you don't need resistance, I would always recommend going Heavy Slam. The only time you're not going to go Heavy Slam is if you're playing single tank Stitches, which I don't really recommend. I think that he's a lot better in the Bruiser role. But if you do need to play tank Stitches for your team, you would go Dampen Magic, and that's going to reduce a significant amount of damage, especially versus any kind of burst team. So if you're against a Li Ming, it's really effective. If you're against a Kel'Thas, even if you're against like a Valyria or something, it's still going to be quite good. So Heavy Slam is level 1.
Choose a talent.
Next talent you have, or level 4 talents, we have Amplified Healing, increases regeneration effects and all healing received. Note that this also works on Devour. So if you get a level 1, if you get Chew Your Food and you were to get Amplified Healing, that would in fact increase Chew Your Food's effectiveness by 3%, 3.3%, I guess. or 3%, sorry. And um, this is good if you have double support. It's actually quite strong. 30% healing is very effective. The other talent we have is Restorative Fumes. Whenever Vile Gas damages an enemy hero, Stitches is healed for 59 health. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it really does add up in team fights. However, I think the other talents here are just a little bit too good. Or sorry, Putrid Ground is just a little bit too good. And Putrid Ground, enemies hit by Slime are infected with Vile Gas. So, as I said, if you are near Stitches when he takes damage, he will emit a cloud that deals damage to you. But with Putrid Ground, you can just apply your poison
Choose
to
a
targets
talent.
at a range. So if I just hit this target dummy, you'll see that my poison is applied. And it doesn't seem like a lot of damage, but if you look at it's 72 damage over 3 seconds, so it's going to be 206 damage. That's not right. It's going to be 216 damage. And um, if you look at the base damage of his kit, it only does 228, then 50% increase. So you're going to be getting a massive increase in damage from your slam. So it actually adds a huge amount of damage. Then if we look at level 7, we have Toxic Gas, which not only increases the Vile Gas radius by 25%, but it also increases the damage by 50%. So you get another damage increase. So it's going to your poison will do a lot of damage, and that is why he really does fill the Bruiser role, but it's damage over time because he really pokes a lot with Slam. It's going to do a lot of damage to the enemy team. But the other talents we have at level 7 are Save the Flavor. Using Devour on an enemy hero permanently increases Stitch's health regeneration by 2 per second. This is just awful. Last Bite, if an enemy dies within 3 seconds of being damaged by Devour, its cooldown is reduced by 12 seconds, so it'll be put on an 8-second cooldown. This used to be good, but it also used to be a lot better of a talent. It used to reduce the cooldown to like 2 seconds or something, so now this is just not too good. But it does have its place on perhaps Infernal Shrines when you can eat the minions to have a very low cooldown on your Devour. Then Tenderizer, basic attack, slow enemy attack movement speed by 25% for 1.5 seconds. And this is the talent you're going to go if you were to go a tank build. So if you go Dampen Magic, you'd probably go Amplified Healing, and then you'd go Tenderizer at level 7. But again, I'm recommending the Slam build. So at level 4, you're going to go Putrid Slam. At level 7, you go Toxic Gas. You
Choose
can
a
already see that
talent.
your damage is going to add up quite significantly here already. And it's only going to increase from here on out. So one Slam is going to do about 423 damage at level 20. And then at level 10, we have his 2 heroics. So we have Putrid Bile, and we have Gorge. So they both have the same cooldown. Putrid Bile, you emit bile that deals 81 damage per second to enemies within, slowing them by 35%, and Stitches gains 20% movement speed while emitting bile lasts 8 seconds. So it just looks like, well,
Choose a
activated here, it just
talent.
looks like this. And for 8 seconds, you can run around and the bile will follow you, and enemies that walk over the bile uh, will take damage and are slowed. And this damage obviously does stack with his Vile Gas passive, so you're going to do a ton of AoE damage. It's going to be very hard to catch you. You can use this as a disengage, you can use this as a chase, so if you get like a flank on enemies, you can run behind them and start biling, and they'll have a very difficult time trying to run away from you. And if they're trying to chase you, it's like it's impossible to chase through this for most heroes. So this is a very, very viable level 10 heroic, and what you should take the majority of the time, especially if you're going slam build. The other ability we have here, I also want to say that it's pretty much his only form of peel. So if you're trying to save your allies, you have Gorge works as well. You can use it to peel, but for the most part, Bile is his primary form of peeling. And his other heroic is Gorge. So let's reset
Choose a
talents here.
talent. Choose a talent. Choose a
So
talent.
Gorge consumes an enemy hero, trapping them for 4 seconds. When Gorge ends, the enemy hero takes damage. The trapped hero cannot move or act and doesn't take damage from other sources. So, what does this mean? So, if I walk up to this target dummy here and I eat it, it's going to be consumed, and I can walk away with it. It just popped out early there because it gets leashed. But with a hero, you can just consume them and you can walk behind towers, you can go anywhere. And you can also use this on high priority targets. So, for example, Tassadar, when he uses Archon, you could actually use it uh, on him to reduce the duration of Archon. So Archon lasts 10.5 seconds, and if you consume him, he's going to be the you'll be using 4 seconds of his Archon will just be wasted. So you can use it on heroes like that as well to just waste their abilities. Or you can use it on high priority targets, maybe like Butcher charges in on your squishy, and he's healing a ton off of them. You could just gorge him, and then your team could set up. You can also use gorge, as I said earlier, with heroes like Medivh. You can use it with heroes like Melf. So when you gorge a target, you can just spit them out right onto a Melf root to guarantee CC, and then they can just die after. And you can also use combos like Gorge, and then your Falstad on your team would gust the rest of the team away, so you can just isolate and kill them again. So usually it's going to be used to in tandem with your hook. So you would pull a target here. Again, this target leashes, but you would pull a target towards you. Then you would Gorge, and then you can walk away with them. It just looks a little buggy here because the target dump. So usually that's how it's going to work. You're going to use it in tandem with hook. Usually you don't walk up to a target and then gorge and walk away. Because usually most people are smart enough to not allow a Stitches to walk up to them if he has gorge. If you are against a Stitches who is constantly landing hooks, this is going to be extremely frustrating to play against, especially if the team has a Medivh or something. Note that you can also use this on a point. So if you were trying to capture a boss or something, you can gorge a hero, and you'll be able to instantly capture the point for free as long as no one else is on it. So if the Myrddin's trying to stand on the point to negate you from capturing it, and your team can't kill him, you can just gorge him, and you'll get the point for free. Okay, level 13, we have Fleabag, Mega Smash, and Indigestion. So Fleabag, whenever Stitches is stunned or rooted, his basic ability cooldowns are reduced by 6 seconds. Mega Smash, range and arc of slam increased by 25%, and Indigestion using Devour also creates a Wretchling that applies Vile Gas Poison when it attacks. So Fleabag is actually quite good, and even if you're against a hero that only stuns you or roots you for a fraction of a second, so for example, it's really good versus Johanna because Johanna's Condemn, or W, pulls you in and stuns you for 0.25 seconds, and that does apply Fleabag. Myrddin's Skullcracker, which attacks when he attacks every 3 seconds, or every third attack will stun you for 0.25 seconds, will also apply this. You can also just walk into Melfruits to intentionally reduce the cooldown of your abilities, and this is obviously very good with Devour. It can also be used in tandem with Last Bite at level 7. So if an enemy dies within 3 seconds, it reduces the cooldown by 12 seconds, and you can also get 6 seconds off with Fleabag. I wouldn't really recommend going that, but I would basically go Fleabag if the enemy team has a lot of CCs. I think this talent is very good. Otherwise, you're gonna go Mega Smash, increases the range and arc of Slam by 25%. So it actually feels a lot better than just a 25% range increase. So if I show you the normal range and arc here, and then I get this
Choose
talent,
a talent.
it's going to make it a lot easier to land your slams, especially if you're going slam build. The Wretchling here that you have at level 13 isn't very good at all. It has quite a lot of health, but a Wretchling every 20 seconds isn't really going to change the fight or anything. You could have more Wretchlings up where they lasted longer or something. Or they actually last quite a long time, but you could get more Wretchlings up and the cooldown wasn't so long, this would be a good talent. But using your Devour every 20 seconds, you're not really going to get any too much value out of this talent. Level 16, we have Pulverize, Fishing Hook, Shish Kebab, and Stone Skin. So Pulverize decreases the slam cooldown by 2 seconds, and it also slows enemies by 75% for 1 second. Fishing Hook. Hook has an additional 40% range. Shish Kebab Hook can pull up to two targets, and Stone Skin, it's a 60-second cooldown to activate to gain 30% of your max health as a shield for 5 seconds. So Pulverize here is the immediate talent that stands out and is extremely powerful. So reduce the cooldown from 8 to 6. Let me just spawn a mini wave here so I can show you how much it actually does slow. And it slows them by 75% for 1 second.
Choose a
If I
talent.
slam this mini wave, it moves extremely slowly, and you can see that it does quite a lot of damage. It almost kills that wizard minion in 1 slam. So 2 slam clear the wave, and it already does. It's going to be doing a lot of damage for your team. And you can also use slam with pulverize to guarantee a hook. So if you hit a target within this range and you hook them, it's a guaranteed easy hook. The other option we have is fishing hook. Hook has an additional 40% range. This is a huge range increase, and again is extremely obnoxious and difficult to play against. The big part of fishing hook is that usually you can see that my field of vision here is about the same as hook. My hook is slightly out of range of my vision, um, but you can see that the indicator actually I think changes color if it's out of vision. But regardless, when you have fishing hook, you're way out of vision and enemies cannot see the hook coming. So it's very, very strong for that reason. Also just because the hook range is extremely far. Shish kebab isn't good at all. Hook can pull up to 2 targets. You don't want to pull 2 targets. You want to just pull one target and blow them up or burst them down or gorge the target or whatnot. This can also work with Helping Hand, but again, it's not really useful. And then Stone Skin. Stone Skin isn't bad, but Pulverize is just way too good to pass up. Let me show you the increase
Choose a talent.
range
Choose a
here.
talent. Choose a talent. Choose a talent.
The increased range is
Choose a
quite far. You
talent.
can actually hook all the way from here. And that will just win you fights a lot of the time. So you can see that the hook range drastically outranges a lot of things. So hook range is really, really strong. And some people just prefer hook range, but if you're going slam build, I'd say you have to go Pulverize. If you're going hook range, you're probably going Gorge, or you're probably going tanky build. If you go tank build, I would definitely advise going Fishing Hook. And then at level 20, we have a number of upgrades. So Regenerative Bile. Bile lasts 2 seconds longer, grants an additional 10% movement speed, and heals for 50% of the damage dealt. Hungry Stitches. While active, Gorge can be repeatedly recast until the first target is expelled, increases Gorge damage by 40%. Hardened Shield. Activate to gain 75 armor for 4 seconds, so you just take 75% less damage. And Bolt of the Storm. Activate to teleport to a nearby location. Okay, so Regenerative Bile is all these talents, first of all, are viable. Regenerative Bile is good if the enemy team doesn't have any burst and you don't need the mobility of Bolt of the Storm and you went Bile. So if they don't have any burst and you're not really threatened, you can just use this talent to heal yourself for a significant amount and just be more effective when using Bile. I think this talent is quite good in situations, but it's pretty rare that you'll get those situations. Hungry Stitches is actually very good. I never see people taking this talent, but for basically for 4 seconds, once you've gorged, you can gorge any nearby heroes, and you can gorge up to the entire enemy team, especially if they're all stacking on a point. Gorge is going to do a ton of damage, and you're going to spit them all out, usually in one area, so that your team will be able to blow them up after. So I think this is a very underrated talent. And then Hardened Shield is very good to reduce burst damage, and then Bolt of the Storm is just also, you might not think about the fact that you can use Bolt of the Storm with Gorge. And yes, you can actually do it. Let
Choose a
me actually
talent.
should have
Choose a
taken
talent.
Gorge here.
Choose a talent. Choose a
Bolt.
talent.
Okay, so if I Gorge a target here, you can just Gorge and then Bolt with them. And then you can teleport behind walls or get them in a really, really obnoxious position. You can also hook a target into Gorge, into teleport, and get them behind your walls or something. So again, very, very obnoxious. I would take Bolt of the Storm if they have Entomb as well, uh, over Hardened Shield, especially since Leo does percentage damage and Hardened Shield doesn't block that. But Bolt of the Storm, I would always go with Gorge, and then if you go Bile, I would consider going Hardened Shield most of the time. You can still go Bolt of the Storm though. So most of the time you're going to be getting Hardened Shield or Bolt of the Storm, but I think these other two options are also quite good. And that's pretty much all I want to talk about for Stitches, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you next time.